So I wasn't going to record this today, but I'm starting to feel I'm getting sick, so I'm definitely not going to want to record it tomorrow. And my birthday's in like 2 days, so I feel like 21 is the last year where anyone really cares about you. You know, 21-year-old tells you what they're doing, you're like, cool, okay, chase your dreams. But a 22-year-old tells you what they're doing, you're like, okay, like, shouldn't you be paying your taxes or having a kid? Like, get your shit together, bro. Anyway, I feel like I learned a lot of life lessons this year, and I want to talk about what I learned while I was 21. The first lesson I learned in the last year is that friends are not that important. I know what you're probably thinking, but I want you to hear me out. I believe that most friends don't want to see you win. They don't want you to fail because they're psychopaths, but at this age, you know, early 20s, we're all like singularly focused on getting our shit together, not being idiots. And when we see people winning, it makes us feel jealous. We want them to lose. I'm just barely becoming mature enough to understand what focusing on myself actually means. I'm not saying don't have friends, but I don't want to be constantly comparing myself to other people or having some toxic attachment to a bunch of the boys to the point where it feels like a stressful competition instead of a useful friendship. The other thing is getting overly involved in other people's business. If you don't have your shit together, you do not need to be thinking about how much better or worse you are than anybody. There's always someone doing better than you, and there's always someone doing worse. But neither of those are a good excuse to get distracted from your own journey. So yeah, I want to say at our age, it's hard to have meaningful friendships without some sort of toxic self-comparison in the mix. And I've really been spending a lot of time this year being less involved with people that make me feel that way and trying to better myself in the same way too. So the next lesson I learned, it was about shame. You know, I think shame is something that we learn from a really young age. Shame and pride, but they're just not useful emotions. You know, for the last 2 years, I've missed out on tons of opportunities because I was afraid of how people were gonna look at me if I acted like my true self. You know, I didn't want eyes on me. That was like the worst thing in the world. It was my biggest fear. And the biggest way that this was manifesting was in a fear of being wrong. The way I was able to get away from it was I just started running my mouth. You know, a lot of the days now, I just say things that I know are wrong, or I say things that are just not complete, fully fleshed out thoughts just because I have to get the ideas out there. I'm not the type of person who can go lock myself in a room and come out with a fully formed plan and, you know, some sort of grand new idea. I have to like spitball. I have to like get the ideas out in the open before I can really figure out what I'm trying to say. So I've really been learning a lot of important lessons ever since I started being open about when I'm wrong, instead of always needing to pretend I know exactly what I'm talking about, because at a certain point you just stop talking at all. So shame, pride, they're just not that useful of emotions, especially as a young person where the majority of people you meet have some sort of lesson or wisdom to share just because everyone has had such different experiences in life thus far.
Oh, that's lightly. My Draco bitch is sprightly. Diamonds on me bites. I heard these niggas wanna fight me. Meet me at my next show, but you better bring a pipe. We ain't fighting till she like me. It's like
I've always heard the phrase that we see ourselves how we want to be seen, and we see others how they are. If someone doesn't treat you how you feel you deserve, it's not because of you. You can't blame yourself. And it's hard to get past that. But it's important to learn not to blame yourself for other people's failures. And it's especially important to realize people just don't change very easily. It's very hard to get someone to be different. Until I figured out how to see people as they are, not how I want them to be, I always felt disappointed when someone didn't live up to the idealized version of them I built in my head. It's easy to see the potential in people, potential that they may not even actually have. And you could end up putting yourself in a position where you get let down very easily. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned this year. I had to stop expecting people to change just for me. So the biggest lesson that I've learned in the past year is about the power of solitude and self-respect. You know, I've done a lot of stupid shit for other people's approval because I thought those people knew something I don't know. I thought that I had to play by their rules to be part of the group, but the truth is, no one knows what's going on. We're all just trying to be part of something so we don't have to be alone. But you don't have to follow some shitty blueprint to have friends and feel like you're part of something. Honestly, the biggest lesson I learned this past year is that not everyone has to like me. At 21 years old, the last thing in the world that you should be focusing on is how liked you are. You should be likable, but focusing on being liked turns you into a watered down version of yourself. It takes away from your actual goals, things you want to achieve. There's honestly no point in trying to maximize how many people like you, because if you have any kind of goal in your life, there are always going to be people who don't want to see you reach it. They're going to try to put you down to make make themselves feel better. You don't need to care if those people like you or not. I spent years as a slave to other people's perception of me. I kept jumping into box after box and letting other people define how I was supposed to be. I realized I had to stop searching for something that isn't there. I'm just me. This is all there is, and my only job is to prioritize seeking out what makes me happy and feel fulfilled instead of trying to do what other people expect. The most self-respecting behavior I've learned is to stop wanting everyone to like me. You try to mold yourself into what everyone else wants you to be, you're gonna lose what made you, you in the first place. It's okay to be wrong, it's okay to look stupid, it's okay to make mistakes, you just have to keep growing and challenging yourself to try new things. Sometimes it's important to choose solitude. Sometimes you have to walk away from the group to do what's right for you. Sometimes you just have to take the road less traveled to figure out what you really believe in. And that's the biggest lesson I learned when I was 21. I know this time next year I'm gonna have a whole new list of things I learned about myself and the world, and hopefully you will too.
The dog always find his way back home, and it's so true.